Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlene. Thanks for wandering by. So I am doing the hashtag irreplaceable decks today. And so this is a hashtag that was created by Kelly at The Truth and Story, and I'll definitely link the first video for this hashtag. And I was really excited to do this, and then I thought about it quite a bit because I wasn't sure if this was a hashtag that I could do because I've only been working with the tarot for a little over a year now, and I was wondering if, because I've only been working with it in that short time frame, if I could really think about decks in terms of being irreplaceable, because it's been such a short time frame. So I'm coming at it from a very, particular lens. And so what I decided is that because over the past year, tarot has been, such an enormous part of my life, and it's, changed my life. And it's been such a big, just a game changer all around for me, that the way that I think of an irreplaceable deck may be a little bit different than the way that Kelly originally intended. And she was talking about, but I think it does coincide. So you'll see as I get into them. But the way that Kelly described an irreplaceable deck, and it could be tarot or oracle, or other kind of maybe outside of that realm, is a deck that it's not your favorite deck necessarily, and it's not your a deck that's going out of print, and it's not irreplaceable in that way. The deck is irreplaceable because it functions in a very singular, particular way for the reader, or at least that's my takeaway from it. So for me, the decks that I'm going to show you, while some are up in my favorites, they really just resonate with me because they function, the way that I work with them, the way that what they've become for me, or the moments or readings or uses that I've found for them, or that have evolved or developed, or even spontaneously happened over the course of this last year, has been very it stood out in such a way that made it very singular, very unique, a very unique and singular experience in my my short span as a tarot and oracle reader. And so I'll give you some more nuances as we go through the decks, but I just want to kind of say that up front, that it's irreplaceable because that whatever it was that happened with this particular deck is something like an experience or a memory or a moment that I can't replace. So while all of these decks may be replaceable because they're, cards, that feeling that I got from the use of them or the work with them is ultimately the thing that's irreplaceable. So that item becomes synonymous with that feeling. So let's start out. I'm going to start out with a deck, and I have these precariously placed all around my desk. I'm going to start out with a deck this is the one of the very first tarot decks that I ever got, and I've shown this deck already here on my channel. This is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, and this deck is irreplaceable for me because this is the deck that I really learned how to read the tarot with. And I had, you know, there were other decks before this one. Rider-Waite-Smith, original, and, you know, original, and some others. But this is the deck that taught me how to get in tune with my innermost thoughts and subconscious, and really begin to start making connections between the meanings of the tarot cards and my own psyche. And that was, you know, a very singular, unique experience in my life. I'm going to move these a little bit faster. I'm just going to let them spread out. But that was a very singular moment, important moment, or moments as it turned out, because I continued to use this deck over and over. And it's, you know, maybe to do with the fact that it's very bizarre. The color choices, I pointed this one out before, these strange alien beings, the choices that were made in the artwork, this like kind of post-apocalyptic, I don't know, almost sci-fi, yet, you know, like spacey, alien, you know, landscape and world really, really drew me in such a way that I was able to tap into things in my mind and connect in a very personal way with the tarot. And this was the deck that I first had that understanding, that experience with. And so this deck is therefore irreplaceable for me. I think it is currently out of print, actually, but I think they're going to be doing another run. And just everything, I mean, there's everything about the way that it feels, too, is also an irreplaceable tactile experience. But the experience, oh my gosh, and to end it on the world. But yeah, that's why it's irreplaceable for me, the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, because this is the deck that I had really, that opened me up. Look at the backs, they're all black. It's that really opened me up to understanding myself inside the meanings of the tarot cards. So yeah, so let me move on to, well, let's do an oracle deck next. So this is the Tantric Dakini Oracle. And this deck, I would never have thought that I would have been attracted to something like this when I first saw it. But I was so intrigued. It's a collage deck, and this is a reprint. I think this is an older deck. And it has ties to the tarot. So the first 22 cards are tied to the majors, and then it goes on to have ties to the minors as well. But this deck has been, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than a spiritual experience for me. I picked up this deck because when I saw it, I thought it would be an amazing deck to pair with the Thoth Tarot. And as I was studying and learning and reading with the Thoth, I didn't think that I would be able to find an oracle deck that I would want to put next to the Thoth. And the Thoth is, for me, a very, you know, outside of the realm of the everyday. So the Thoth for me is really about getting in touch with, you know, my higher self, which I'm still kind of defining what I think that means. And this deck, with its like super bizarre imagery, you know, collage style art and keywords, just really like blew me away. And I'm able to, it really works well next to the Thoth, but when I don't have anything else like this. Like it is very unique in my deck library. You know, just passing through the the guidebook is really neat as well. Sometimes I don't even use it though. You know, it just, and a lot of people say this about collage style. I love this card. A lot of people say this about collage style decks, that because they have all these different, you know, moving parts, that they really make you think. And I just don't ever have the kind of getting in touch with what I feel like is outside of my conscious self. You know, something like more, I don't know, on a higher plane than me, like things that are unexplainable. This just does it. But I mean, it's a way for me to link. Look at how weird. It's just a way for me to link like my, you know, what I do know with what I don't know. Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. But yeah, the Tantric Dakini Oracle is an irreplaceable deck for me, in its ability, you know, to work on a spiritual level for me. It's one of the only decks that I have that like takes me outside of myself in that way, and allows me to explore things that I might not have before. So yeah, so that's the Tantric Dakini Oracle. Let me keep going with oracles, because I feel like that's, you know, I know that Kelly, when she was talking about this particular idea of irreplaceable decks, Oracle was high on her list, because Oracle decks tend to be very unique, right? Because the tarot is a system, and even though you can see different representations of the same card, the meaning of those cards is the same across, you know, that language it's the same language, is what I would say, across different decks. But so yeah, so I really understand how oracles fit into this category or fit into this tag, right? So these two decks I mean, everything is fairly new, right? I don't have anything that I've been using for, you know, 20 years. I've only been using things for a year, if that, and some of them for a lot less time. But in any case, I've showcased these two decks and did I'll link it in the cards, or I'll link it down below. I showed off one of the ways, you know, or the way that I use these two oracle decks, the Wisdom of the Divine Feminine and the Wisdom of the Shadow. I first saw them when Lisa Pepez did a walkthrough, and it, like, honestly, the whole experience of watching Lisa have, you know, her experience of first seeing these cards, these two decks side by side, was a crazy, cool, magical experience. And then it, you know, and it didn't end there. Like I had an amazing experience the moment that I got them and started using them together. And so I guess this might be cheating because these are two decks, but I can't imagine using these two oracle or using them separately. I mean, I'm sure you can, and I bet it would be cool, but honestly, they are irreplaceable to me because of the way that they work in tandem with each other. And so let me show you them side by side. Okay, so this is the wisdom of the divine feminine, and this is the wisdom of the shadow. And these decks are irreplaceable, not just because the artwork is gorgeous, because it is, and not just because the keywords are amazing and expansive, because they are, because there are other decks that have gorgeous artwork and expansive keywords, and decks that have light and shadow even mixed together. The thing about this is because it is a light, more light and definitely shadow. The thing about it is that when you use these decks together, the way that, like, look at that. I mean, like harmony and change. The way that the artwork, flow, resilience, the way that the artwork, the way that the keywords, the way that they line up together, like, look at that ripeness, expectations, like you see, you know, the way that the figures are, and that the way that the magic happens between the way they speak to each other. That is a unique, a very unique and amazing reading experience. When, like, wholeness, opening, like, look at that. And no matter how many different combinations I've ended up with, you know, and I haven't done that many readings yet with them, it is so, it is just, I don't even know what have words, because it's such a singular experience to you know, to walk from the light to shadow in the way that I did in my bridge reading with these. But like the versatility of these two decks together, the way the conversation that happens between them, I don't have other decks that do this. Look, cycles, wisdom. I mean, I don't have other decks that talk to me, that have this voice. Yeah, I guess that's, you know, something that I meant to say at the start of it, that like these decks, and I think it's even more apparent with the tarot, because the thing about them that makes them irreplaceable is the very specific, loud sometimes voice that they that they speak with. Let me just go through really quick, but I just want you to see, you know, to get an idea of, sorry, and I'm not doing this in a beautiful way, but you know, I just want you to see the cards next to each other. That's the idea. Beauty, sensuality. Like, you know, I mean, how freaking amazing is that? Am I covering everything with my hands? Oh my goodness. Anyway, but that's the idea. The voice of these decks, look at that, grounding, authenticity, trust, connection. I mean, the voice that's here is, it's unique, it's irreplaceable. I don't have other decks that work together in this very particular way. Oh my gosh, sorry, my camera's shaking all around. I don't have anything that I could replace these two decks with. Okay, let me move on to, let me grab a tarot deck. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the Shakespeare Oracle, and it is not an oracle, it's actually a tarot. And this deck is definitely irreplaceable for me because it is Shakespeare, and I don't have any other decks that speak in this way. And as you can see, it's a pip deck, but the minor cards have quotes from Shakespeare's plays. The court cards are specific Shakespearean characters, and all the majors are as well. Like, look at that. I mean, what else would you choose besides Romeo and Juliet for the lovers? But because, you know, I'm a huge Shakespeare fan and lover of the works of Shakespeare, this deck with its quotes, you know, it is matched up with the tarot, but it speaks to me. It speaks to, you know, my literary soul. And these quotes, you know, there's no other deck that has these, that has lined up and matched the works of Shakespeare to the meanings of the tarot in such an amazing way. Yes, it is a tarot deck. Yes, the 10 of quills is the 10 of swords, and it, you know, it has the meaning of the 10 of swords. But it has the quote, our doubts are traitors. I mean, that's just like really cool. It has so much to say to me, beyond, you know, beyond just any rote understanding or meaning of the tarot. I don't have that many pip decks, and so this one, which I've only used a few times so far, I'll tell you, you know, in all transparency, but it is irreplaceable. It is out of print, but that's not why it's irreplaceable to me. It's so thoughtful, it's so smart. It's, you know, it's not even about the artwork, which I think is lovely. It is just the way that it speaks to my heart. It does. You know, it really does. It speaks to me, and having quotes that, you know, as a writer and a poet myself, like matching up the tarot with specific quotes is not an easy thing to do. And I'm very picky about what speaks to me. Look at the three witches is the moon. Like, isn't that just amazing? I love it. Yeah, I just love it so. I mean, and it's not just because I love it, but it's because the type of reading and the type of like reading experience that I get using the Shakespeare Oracle / tarot is, you know, it's not, I can't get it from anything else in this way. It's, you know, what's the word of the video now? It's singular, it's unique, it's, you know, I mean, the word of the tag, it's irreplaceable. No other deck does that particular, you know, moves me and speaks to me in that voice. The Hangman is Hamlet. I mean, that's just like, what's cooler than that? I guess I'm showing you the whole deck. I'll just end with the Emperor. Yeah, so that was the Shakespeare Oracle, an irreplaceable deck because of its Shakespearean voice that speaks to my literary heart and soul. Okay, so let me talk about another. So because for me, because of, oops, I'm cheating and showing you. Because, like I said, because I'm a poet, because I'm a writer, I get specific inspiration from the tarot and decks that I use. And this is the Shamanette Tarot deck. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I think it is the Shamanette. So the Shamanette Tarot deck is it's a very different art style. This deck has 3 worlds in it, 3 different world cards to choose from. And because of that, because of the 3 different worlds in this particular deck, which isn't like super, crazy unique, although I think it makes these depiction or this deck irreplaceable as well. Because of this, I was inspired to write a poem. And so, when you have an experience where the art and meanings of a particular deck move you in such a way that you're inspired to write poetry. I wonder if my messy cards are making people crazy. That's irreplaceable, and I honestly have had that feeling. Look at these court cards. Because these depictions are so different, so totally abstract and different, that I can, like path working with this deck would be amazing. And the Fool is the only card that's in black and white. But yeah, it has a voice that inspires me, that inspires my own writing, that inspires my readings, that feel like they go outside of just a everyday tarot reading. And that, for me, is what makes a deck irreplaceable, because there's nothing else in my tarot library or my deck library that speaks to me in this particular way and inspires me. Oh gosh, see, I have so much to say about this Priestess card. But I won't say it right now. I'll save it for you for a creative writing video. How about that? This, that's the Hierophant. It gives me Statue of Liberty vibes there. There's so much in this little deck with this, I don't even know, is it painting? Watercolor? Somebody who knows about artwork can tell me. But yeah, it makes you go, huh? What? And then, draw connections. And it doesn't even matter if it goes off book. I mean, she has a little white book in here, and it's definitely very different than like I don't know what traditional tarot meanings are usually written up as. It's in that realm, but it really goes other places, and that is a very unique and irreplaceable experience for me, and why the Shamanette Tarot is an irreplaceable deck. So let's see, I have, okay, we'll do this one now. So this is another tarot deck, and it is the Yuanasa Tarot. I think that's how you say it, Yuanasa Tarot. She's a Spaniard. And this is the Yuanasa Tarot, the jumbo edition of this deck. I wanted it in the smaller version, but it was out of print. So this is the coloration that I, because there are other iterations of this deck in different colors. I believe the most recent edition, that's a smaller size, is more green, whereas you'll see these have a yellow purple vibe. Now, if you want to talk, so I believe that Yuanasa tarot is in the Tarot de Marseille tradition. And, God, that's awesome. But it's not traditional Marseille imagery at all. You could call it a pip deck. It is some of the most beautiful artwork that I've ever come across. I am stunned every single time I look at it. Purple is my favorite color, but that's neither here nor there, except that, like, aesthetically, this is, like, you know, my colors. But these images are so surprising for the tarot. I mean, for me, they're so outside of Rider-Waite-Smith, outside of, you know, historical Tarot de Marseille depictions. They're so different than almost anything else that I've ever seen that there's no way that when I read with this deck that the experience is not a unique one. It is always a unique experience. It is always a singular, very different voice that comes through when I read with this deck. It's special. It's just special. There's nothing else like it in my tarot library. I don't think I could use, you know, I could use anything else and have the same sort of, you know, emotional, look at this. This is the Fool card. You know, come on. Like, there's nothing like this. And some of it's really simple and beautiful. It's just unreal to me. It's just, you know, almost a surreal experience reading with this deck. It's, yeah, it's irreplaceable because I don't have similar experiences with other decks. I think for me, it's about the voice of this deck, or, you know, the voice that it unlocks inside my own psyche. I could say that too. And that because it does that for me, God, that is so amazing. With the one petal missing from the Five of Cups. Oh, can you, like, I just want to do a reading with this deck right now because I brought it out. Yeah, it's stunning. And I have that, it's stunningly beautiful, and it's also, like a stunning, you know, experience to have. I keep saying the same words, but that's because, you know, that's the voice. That's the voice of it. So yeah, so that's the Yuanasa Tarot in the jumbo version. Okay. I have one more tarot and one more oracle to show you, so stick with me. I think we'll show you the last oracle first. Now, these are the Visionary I Ching cards, and I ended up with purchasing this deck because I was where did I even see it? I can't remember where I saw it at this point. I know that there are, because I've studied the Thoth Tarot, pardon me, I need to have a sip of my drink. Sorry guys, and I'm going to try not to edit this. So you have to, hear me drink. So, where was I? Oh, so I was telling you that I know that there are, that the I Ching is one of the most ancient divinatory systems. I'm learning about it now because of this deck. But I did know, because I studied and have been studying the Thoth Tarot for about 6 months now, that there are I Ching associations with the court cards in the Thoth Tarot that are not the I Ching. The I Ching hexagram doesn't appear on the card itself, but in the Book of Thoth and in by Crowley, but also in other books about the Thoth Tarot, there's the mention of the I Ching correspondent of the court cards. And I sort of just like glossed over that and didn't pay attention to it and skipped over those sections because I knew nothing about the I Ching. And then I saw the artwork of this deck. So let me start showing you cards. I saw the artwork of this deck and I was immediately drawn to the artwork. Oh, it's not upside down, sorry. I was immediately drawn to the artwork and thought it would pair with one of my tarot decks really well, and it does. But then when I started using it, and I also, I started learning about the I Ching as well. And I haven't even scratched the surface with, oh, I'm sorry for the glare. These are glossy cards. I haven't even scratched the surface of, understanding the entire, system of the I Ching. But I don't have another deck like this. I mean, like, there are other I Ching, there are other decks that feature the I Ching. And there are, a bajillion books, but this one speaks to me in a way that helps me understand the I Ching. It also helps me understand the I Ching correspondence to the court cards of the tarot in the Thoth and beyond. I know that I'm pretty sure, I want to say that, there's 64 I Ching hexagrams and 78 tarot cards, but I'm pretty sure that, and I don't own the Spirit Keepers Tarot, but I'm pretty sure that Benabel Wen has made correspondences to maybe more than just the court cards. I'm not sure. I could be speaking out of turn there. But the idea of this deck, like this beautiful watercolor artwork, the versatility of this deck, is one of the things that makes it irreplaceable. But because the Thoth, just like, the Dakini, the Tantric Dakini Oracle, like the Thoth, the Tantric Dakini Oracle, and then these visionary I Ching cards, separately and together, are creating a exploration of spirituality for me that is unlike any other that I get with my other decks. And so that makes this beautiful, oracle deck irreplaceable for me. I literally, it has not left my reading table since I got it, and I've used it almost every day since I got it as well. And I also went to, my dad is a coin collector, or was. He, you know, collects coins, obviously. That's what a coin collector does. And because my parents are from Cuba, I went to my dad and I asked him if he had Cuban coins that I could use to cast for my I Ching. So I've used this deck as, I guess I can show you the coins since I mentioned them. I use this deck as just I shuffle and pull cards, but I also cast my coins, which these are 5 cinco centavos, 5 cent from the pre-revolutionary Cuba. So they're special, and I've been using them. So yeah, like the whole idea, and that's funny because I guess like the things that I'm talking about that are irreplaceable are more about the experience and the idea and the emotion that these cards unlock rather than the cards themselves. But I guess I said that at the beginning that that's why these cards are irreplaceable to me, because they elicit those responses from me. All right, and last but certainly not least, and I'm happy to have you, hopefully, those of you that are still hearing my voice now are still here for my last deck. And the last deck is always on my table. This deck and the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum are rivals for soul decks of mine. And by the way, I own 2 copies of the Margaret Peterson Tarot, the one with the gray borders, and I had to get the one with the maroon borders. And it's funny because these 2 decks separately, they're each irreplaceable, and I will not chop off the borders either, because they, similarly to the Shamanette Tarot and the Yuanasa Tarot, the feeling of inspiration and the feeling that I get from using these cards is one of a kind, and I'm absolutely obsessed with and in love with what I get from using this. Like, we've had good times and bad times, and I fall into the artwork of this deck. Do you guys want to let me show? I guess I'll show you them side by side so that you can see both what it looks like with the gray border and with the maroon, for those of you that are interested to see. And these are not in order, so they're not going to be like a real side by side comparison. But let's have fun and look. So yeah, there's no other deck so far in my experience that in which I fall so completely into the artwork that it's like, so it's such a unique experience that I can't do it all the time. I can't I can't do a huge big reading. I think I haven't done more than 4 cards at a time with this deck, because it's an intense, it's an intense flowy experience. I'm trying not to have the cards fall all down over here again. And I know that this is not for everyone. In fact, I think this is one of those decks that's incredibly polarizing, that people, in the way that, oh, look here. Sorry, you can see them side by side. The exact same card that just happened. It's very it's polarizing because some people are just like, I don't get it. And that's fine. But for me, it's an immersive experience. That's the word. It's immersive. You know, in that path working type of way as well. And it's just like it's a mood traveling, immersive, I mean, whole body experience. I sound like I'm like talking about like tripping or something, but really no. It's like, I don't know, it's just like one of the most magical things ever is to use this deck. And I mean, honestly though, you can read it just like you read the tarot, you know, like I have these, you know, I'm a poet, right? So I have these like crazy, you know, moments of depth of feeling, and I get, you know, I get wispy and I get all dramatic. I don't know if that's only the poet side of me. I'm dramatic in general. This card, the Daughter of Cups, is one of the most, like I said, like the experience of looking into this card and feeling and being transported into the meaning of what so this would be the Daughter of Cups would be the Page or the Princess of Cups. You can see, I just have to take a minute. You can see that this is the reflection of a person standing, for me, this is what I see, is the reflection or shadow of a person standing on the side of a pool of water or a body of water, and they look like they're about to dive in. And I feel that feeling of what that feels like in every pore of my body when I look at this image. And for me, there's nothing more transportive than that. And when you tie it into the meaning of the card, with the Page of Cups and that newness and investigation and innocence of emotion, of living in the world of the cups, right? In the world of emotion, when you put those two, when you put that feeling and that experience and that image and that meaning together, I mean, like this card is irreplaceable. That makes the rest of the deck that way for me too. I probably shouldn't go through this entire deck. I'll just show you a few more. But, you know, overall, I feel like that's the way that I define what an irreplaceable deck is for me in this brief period that I've been working with decks, just because of how I've been living with them. And, you know, I mean, that could change over time. I'm sure it could. I'm sure that all of us that do these hashtags may change our minds about, you know, which decks end up on which lists, right? And that's why it's so fun to do. But there's nothing for me like the Margaret Peterson, not even to mention the guidebook. The guidebook for this deck is tiny and but amazing, and yeah, absolutely irreplaceable. And I have 2 copies. So I'm funny like that, huh? Let me see if I can put some of these back together for you and pile them all up. So I'll try to stack these for you here. So these are what I call my irreplaceable decks, because mostly, you know, it's not even for the paper themselves. And I guess that's, I don't know if that's cheating for the card themselves. It's really, for me, about what these, the experience of using these decks elicits for me, and the memory that I attach then to them. And that's the other Margaret Peterson, and finally the little wee Shamanette Tarot. But yeah, this is, you know, about what has become irreplaceable in my own heart, soul, psyche, life experience about using these decks. And I, you know, thank you so much for sticking around and walking through this, you know, this experience with me. It's been so much fun for me. I'm looking forward to seeing, I've seen many of the folks that are already responding to this hashtag, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. Yeah, thanks again, you guys, for sticking around, and I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye now.